Welcome back to the Twisted Hazel, everyone. My name's Corey, and today we're going to do a couple watch reviews. If you saw our last video, it was just me unboxing the different watches and things that I got off of AliExpress, and I thought I'd do a bit of a proper review of the details and my thoughts after wearing them for a couple of days. The first one we're going to look at is the NAVIFORCE NF9024N quartz watch. And the other watch I'm going to review is the AOCASDY, I think that's how you pronounce it. They've got these weird names on AliExpress, but the AOCASDY A6059. They're both quartz watches, and I've been wearing them both a bit. So let's flip the camera around so you guys can get a closer look, and I'll tell you all about it. Okay, so this is the NAVIFORCE NF9024N. As you can see, it's quite a nice, got quite a nice green dial with the orange accents, sort of a military style. I don't believe it's really homaging anything in particular, but it's a very nice watch. Dimensions on this one, it is a relatively large watch. You've got a dial diameter. Now it's a little bit different because the dial diameter is actually from, so the dial diameter is actually about 43 millimeters, but if you do it including the crown, you're sort of getting up into the closer to, what's that, about 48 mils. Lug to lug, you're looking at about, same actually, including the crown, about 48 mils. It has a thickness, it's not super thick, like it's about 12, 13, it's about 12, 13 mils thick, and the lug diameters are 22, so it's got a 22 mil strap on it. So it's not the biggest watch, but it's certainly not a small watch. It's got flat mineral crystal, as generally comes on these things, and I don't tend to have a problem with mineral crystal. I've been finding that it's fine. It's I'm a gardener, and it's gotten dirty and things splattered on it, and it's cleaned off absolutely fine. You've got, but on the dial here, you've got now this isn't a rotating bezel or anything, it's just for aesthetics, the outer bezel. It's got your military style numbers on it with the battens at the 3, the 6 and the 9, with the NAVIFORCE logo up the top there. So I know how down the bottom here it's got water resistant 30 meters, so it's only splash proof. I certainly wouldn't take this swimming or at the beach or anything. It would have been, and it does have both the date at the top and the date down the bottom. I would have been nice. I'm not the biggest fan of the NAVIFORCE logo and the name at the top there. It probably would have been better either to remove that altogether or just have the logo. I think a double baton would have looked much better there, and even putting like the NAVIFORCE logo, I don't know, even under the day if they really wanted to put it on there somewhere. They've also got the NAVIFORCE logo on the counterweight on the seconds hand, so I just don't think it was really necessary. They sort of over-branded this a little bit too much. I quite like the crown on this as well. It's got this spiral sort of screw. It's not screw down, but it's got this nice spiral sort of screw patterning on it, which is actually really nice. It makes it nice and easy to grip. And it's even signed, which is really nice, which at this price point I'd be pretty I'm pretty surprised that they've got a signed crown on there. It basically has 2 settings, so your first is for adjusting the date. If you turn it one way, you adjust the date. If you turn it the other way, you adjust the day. and then you pull it out further and you can adjust the time. And it's got pretty good action. It doesn't tend to really jump, which is quite good for this type of watch as well. So for a quartz watch, it must be we'll crack open the back in a minute, but I think it must be a fairly good movement. It has a stainless steel case back. It is an alloy case, so the whole case is alloy, and you've got all the details on there. Now, the strap on this is a nylon strap that is backed with your sort of fake leather. It does have, once again, have NAVIFORCE on there, and it also has a stainless steel strap, which also has the logo on it. So there's these little things which I don't mind the logo being on a few things, but yeah, the dial itself, I think they've just sort of over-branded it a little bit too much. The issue I have with this strap is it's really stiff. I think it actually looks quite nice, and despite the fact that it's sort of like a fake leather on the back, which probably won't wear that well, the strap itself is really, really stiff. Like, I mean, maybe after a while it'll wear in a bit, but when I show you it on my wrist in a minute, it's really, really tough. It doesn't, yeah, it just doesn't really sit very well because it is such a stiff strap. But I've got a couple other straps to put it on, and I'll show you those, because I actually haven't really been using this strap that much, because the other ones I've got are much more comfortable. But it is quite a nice watch. I really like the colouring on it. You can get this one in other colours as well. They've got a whole range of colours on AliExpress for this one. But yeah, I've been really quite enjoying this watch. Weight-wise, it's about 65, 66 grams. So not too heavy either. And yeah, so I'll show you it on wrist. Okay, so there's the movement. It is an Epson Japanese-made quartz movement, so it's actually a decent movement, I guess, at least for the price. It's the model AX63A. So it's not a particularly expensive movement. It's still a pretty inexpensive movement. I think on AliExpress you can buy these movements for about $5 or $6. So certainly not an expensive movement, but it is quite quality. Doesn't have a particularly loud tick, and like I showed you earlier, there wasn't really any jumping even when setting the time and stuff. So it's actually quite a decent movement, especially considering this watch only cost about $20. So yeah, not bad for the money. All right, well, let's stick the back on, and I'll show it to you on wrist. Okay, so there it is on wrist. It's probably at the limit or close to the limit of what I think looks reasonable on my wrist. I've got a 6 3/4 inch or 17 centimeter wrist. So, but yeah, the strap, like I said, it's not the most comfortable. You can see, it's a bit hard to sort of show, but you can see there's very little bend in this bit here, and same here, very little bend there and there. So it tends to sort of sit upright on my wrist a bit, which is not the most comfortable thing in the world. So I have tried it with a couple of NATO straps or other types of straps that I'll show you now, but which are a lot more comfortable. Okay, so this is it on with just a cheap NATO strap that I got off AliExpress. And I think this is the one I've actually been wearing with most. It's actually been very comfortable on the NATO strap. It sits a lot more flush. Don't have that poking out as much, and yeah, it just forms to my wrist a lot more. So I really like it with that NATO strap. There's another strap that I've just bought recently, which I'll show you next. And here it is on this other strap. This is actually a Samsung smartwatch strap. It's just a Velcro strap that goes on. So I don't know how well that's going to last, but I think the colouring just works really well. It's got the green and the orange like with the dial, and it's quite a comfortable fabric strap, but I think it looks really nice with the watch. So yeah, that's the NAVIFORCE. All right, let's move on to the AOCASDIY. Okay, so this is the AOCASDIY or AOCASDIY, however you are meant to pronounce it. Who knows with these some of these AliExpress brands. It's not really a homage. It's got a bit of the 50 fathoms styling diver watch style to it, but it's a non-rotating bezel. The bezel's just there for looks, but the styling's not too bad. It's interesting. Different lights, like you see the dial. I'm not so sure on. I mean, it does have applied indices with the different triangle batons, and the numbers, they're all applied on the dial, which is very nice. And it is a flat mineral crystal, but the fake bezel actually sort of has a bit of a rounded, it rises up and rounds around slightly from the crystal, which is actually quite nice. It's quite appealing. The dimensions on this one, it is once again a larger watch. Its dial diameter is 44 mils, so as you can see, it is, let's get this properly on here. Yeah, as you can see, it's about 44 mils. With the crown, it extends out to about 46 mils. Lug to lug, it is about 53, 54, no, yeah, about 52, 53 mils. Its lug width is 22 mils. I've got a number of 22 mils straps that goes with this. Its case thickness is a little bit thicker, mostly due to the sort of raised bit on the fake bezel. So you're looking at around about 13 to 14. It's probably not 14. It's probably more. Yeah, it's probably more of a 13 mil. So it's about the same, maybe slightly thicker than the NAVIFORCE. It also has the date window. The crown is unsigned, and it has sort of these crown guards on it, which actually makes it, you really can only open it from the bottom. So it's a little bit harder to use and to get it open. And it has both settings, but so this is the fully out. The second position is obviously for the time. I have found it's really hard to get it to land on the date window. There it is. Got it on the date window. It is tricky. It is hacking amazingly for such a cheap watch, and it has an alloy case, as is pretty standard on these types of watches. 30 meters water resistance, so once again pretty much just splash proof. I certainly once again wouldn't take this even in the bath. Stainless steel back and signed once again. The strap is actually quite a nice leather strap. It's obviously it's not it's just genuine leather, so you know it's not a top grain leather or anything like that, but it actually feels quite nice, and it actually doesn't feel too heavy or too thin and flimsy. Has quite nice stitching on it, with the contrast stitching, and yeah, I actually think it looks quite nice. I do have a couple straps that I've been using with it, just because I find when I'm out working every day, the leather straps can, especially these cheaper leather straps, can get a little bit like mucky, and they soak up the sweat and don't look very nice after very long. So I think I'll keep this strap more for wearing it out, if I want to actually wear it out. The dial, as I was sort of indicating before, I don't know if I like the coloring or not. I like the orange. It's funny because at different positions, like when you look at it like this, I love that. I love the slightly sort of darker sort of tone leading out to almost black brown. But then when you sort of look at it straight on, it sort of becomes, and in certain lights, it becomes a bit sort of, I don't know, a bit faded, and the hands almost sort of disappear into the background. But it, very simplistic, looks very nice, especially, like I said, especially for the money. It wasn't an expensive watch. Let's crack open the back and have a look at the movement. Okay, so there is the movement. It doesn't really have anything on it apart from the model number, which is SL28, which is just a cheap generic Chinese digital, not quartz watch movement. So yeah, there's certainly a very cheap movement. You can usually get these on these movements on AliExpress for $2 or $3. Like they're very cheap. Not much cheaper really than the Epson one from the NAVIFORCE. But amazingly, this watch was slightly more expensive than the NAVIFORCE. So I've got to say, like, yeah, it's interesting that they can fit a slightly better, although still inexpensive, movement in the NAVIFORCE, but they've gone with the very cheap SL28 in this watch. All right, well, let's pop the case back on, and I'll show it to you on wrist. Okay, so there it is on wrist. Probably sits a little bit snugger than the NAVIFORCE, but although it's about the same. Although saying that, looking at it now, maybe it does overhang just a tiny bit on my wrist. But it actually, I think it looks fine. I quite like it. I don't think it looks sort of out of place or too over the top on my wrist. As I said, I've got a couple other. I've got a NATO strap and a silicone strap that I've been wearing it with as well, so I'll quickly show you those. There it is with the orange NATO strap. This is quite a comfortable NATO strap. Doesn't quite match because it's got the brushed buckle and little lugs, whereas this is a polished alloy case, but I think it looks pretty good with it. It's quite comfortable, and yeah, it gives it a bit more of a casual, I guess, summery sort of feel. All right, I'll show you with the silicone strap. And there it is on the silicone strap, which I don't mind. I have to admit, it's not this particular silicone strap. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether it's the colouring. It's certainly not as comfortable as the NATO strap or the leather one that it came with. I just thought I'd try it out. And yeah, I don't know what it is about it. It doesn't quite work for me. I guess also with silicone, it's one of those things where I think with silicone, if it's it sort of can capture the dirt a bit, and if you're not taking it in water, like, is there really a need for silicone? It's not ugly, but like I said, there's something about it that doesn't quite work for me. But anyway, that's it on with the silicone strap. Well, that's it, guys, for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. As I said before, if you have been enjoying this video and you'd like to see more, we would absolutely love it if you would subscribe and and if you enjoyed the video, to like the video, because that'll really help our channel grow. So thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.